Bloomberg Audio Studios. Podcasts, radio, news.
The Stock Movers Report, your roundup of companies making moves in the stock market, harnessing the power of Bloomberg data.
Let's take a look at some of the stocks on the move today. I'm Caroline Hepker and I'm joined by Bloomberg's equities reporter, Joe Easton. Good morning, Joe. Kicking off with some news on NATO members moving towards this 5% spending target. This, at least according to Secretary General Mark Rutte. In terms of early reaction to this news, I'm quite surprised in some ways that defence stocks aren't on the leaderboard right now for Europe.
Yeah, so they are kind of edging up a little bit. We've got BAE Systems rising, that's up around 2%, and also some of the continental European names up around 2% as well. So Rheinmetall, Leonardo, a lot of those did have a boost yesterday though, because we did get headlines that NATO would potentially move towards this 5% target. And then also there was the heavy bombing over in Ukraine that kind of added to the geopolitical tensions, and therefore this sector came back into focus as well. There's a good note out from JP Morgan today, writing that they actually do expect the defence sector in Europe to continue gaining over the next few weeks, because we've got the big NATO summit coming up towards in a few weeks' time, in fact. So therefore they think the stock should gain, and we are actually seeing a bit of positivity in the sector, despite a lot of those stocks obviously more than doubling over the past couple of years.
Yeah, I'll pick out of the top 10 best performing Euro Stoxx 600 companies. Melrose Industries up by 4.1%, global aerospace business, and then Kinetic Group again.
So this is kind of UK catching up with what we saw yesterday, given UK was closed, and therefore but it is a 2-day gain for defence. So the NATO headlines, that 5% number, 5% of GDP, really coming into focus. That NATO conference coming up towards the end of this month, so everyone looking at the sector again.
Yeah, because those companies are both London-based, aren't they? OK, got it. LVMH is facing a target price cut from one of its analysts, one of the analysts that covers that stock. What's behind that move?
So HSBC cutting its target on LVMH, so they come down to €525. That is one of the lowest on the street. Now, analysts over there writing that investors need to curb your enthusiasm one more time, is the quote from them, saying that maybe a bit of a Larry David fan, maybe.
Yes,
So they're saying that the American and Chinese markets remain under pressure with no real compensating engine of growth, and also the stronger euro weighing on the earnings. So money that companies make over in the US, over in China, when they translate it into euros, they get fewer euros for their dollars. So that one is lower today. Burberry, meanwhile, actually outperforming, because analysts over at Barclays upgrading Burberry, saying that there was a lot of discounting at Burberry in November, and they actually thought that would kind of dilute the image and people would see Burberry as less luxury, but they're saying that hasn't taken place and the brand image is intact, and they upgrade it, no longer recommend selling, and Burberry gaining around 3% this morning.
OK, that on Burberry and LVMH. Although I've got to say, the crossover between an LVMH customer and Larry David, the US comedian, I would have thought is quite a small window.
It's not everyone buying the 20 grand Louis Vuitton bags, or I don't even know how much they are, but I'm sure they are pretty.
They're pricey.
Yes,
let's
exactly.
just put it that way. They're pricey. Think twice, Joe. He said. Right, in terms of HSBC, the other thing to say is that there have been quite major moves here at HSBC today, we've heard.
Yes, so HSBC announcing restructuring. So they have unfortunately laid off a lot of analysts in recent days, around 24 analysts, part of a restructuring of investment banking, including Stephen Major, one of the fixed income analysts, kind of the high profile people there. This is according to Bloomberg reporting, citing people familiar with the matter from the finance team today. Now, the broader picture is that it kind of plays into the big revamp under the chief executive officer over at HSBC, which is trying to streamline their costs and increase efficiency. HSBC shares up around 0.3% this morning.
The Stock Movers Report from Bloomberg Radio. Check back with us throughout the day for the latest roundup of companies making news on Wall Street. And for the latest market-moving headlines, listen to Bloomberg Radio live. Catch us on YouTube, Bloomberg.com, and on Apple CarPlay and Android Auto with the Bloomberg Business app.